Why bother cleaning it? You can't even shoot it, someone mocked from the corner of the armory. The brown-haired woman with quiet eyes continued polishing the Barrett .50, saying nothing. A strange badge lay neatly on the table beside her. Heavy footsteps echoed. The general entered. He started to walk past, but his eyes caught the badge. He froze, breath catching in his throat. 3,200 meters. Only one person ever earned this. Late afternoon in the military armory. Dim yellow lights cast shadows across wooden crates and gun oil stains. In the center of the room sat Elena Markov, 29 years old. Small frame, long brown hair tied back tight, wearing a simple military uniform. She quietly cleaned a Barrett .50 caliber rifle, each movement careful and practiced, like she'd done this 1,000 times before. Young soldiers walking past laughed mockingly. Why's someone so small handling heavy weapons? She could clean it all day, and still couldn't fire a single shot. Elena didn't respond. Her eyes stayed focused on every gleaming surface of the rifle barrel. On the table beside her, a silver badge caught the light. Engraved clearly, 3,200 meters. Nobody paid attention, or if they did, they assumed it was just some forgotten souvenir. An officer strolled by, waving dismissively. Put that away. Let someone who knows how to use it handle it. Elena just nodded slightly, not arguing. But when everyone left, her eyes lingered on the badge. Her fingers gently touched it, and her gaze couldn't hide deep, distant memories. The other soldiers saw her as maintenance staff, someone who cleaned weapons but never fired them, someone who belonged in the background, not on the front lines. They'd say, "She's harmless, just keeps the equipment clean." What they didn't know was that Elena volunteered for the most dangerous cleaning assignments. When weapons came back from combat zones, covered in sand and blood, she was the one who restored them to perfect condition. She worked alone, usually in silence. Never complained about the long hours or the tedious work. Never asked for recognition or better assignments. Other soldiers would finish their shifts and go to the mess hall or recreation areas. Elena would stay behind, making sure every weapon was spotless and functional. "She's obsessive about it," one soldier observed, "like it's personal for her." But it was personal. Each weapon she cleaned had been carried by someone who depended on it to stay alive. Each rifle had a story, had protected someone's life, had brought someone home. Elena understood that connection in ways the other soldiers couldn't imagine. When she held that Barrett .50, her hands moved with familiarity that went beyond simple maintenance. She knew exactly how it felt to fire. She knew its weight, its recoil, its capabilities. An old soldier would later recall, "That day, she didn't say anything, just cleaned the rifle and placed that badge neatly on the table, like she was waiting for someone to recognize it." Live fire training day on the outdoor range. Elena stood with the group, requesting to try the Barrett. Whispers spread. "She's just technical support, not a marksman." The instructor waved her away. "Not on the roster." Step back. Elena quietly moved to the rear of the group. A cluster of young soldiers snickered behind their hands, but while everyone focused on the shooting exercise, a sharp crack echoed across the range. Someone noticed Elena in the distance, adjusting the Barrett's scope with expert movements. In just seconds, she'd identified that the rifle's alignment was off-center. A young soldier whispered, "She knows how to balance the barrel. But how?" That evening in the armory, an officer discovered old CCTV footage. Elena walking past when she effortlessly subdued an intruder, using only a wooden baton. The movement was clean, fast, decisive. Nothing like someone who only cleaned weapons. The technique was professional grade. Military precision. Rumors began spreading. She wasn't ordinary personnel. Someone vaguely remembered. I think she used to be in recon unit, but nobody believed it. More clues emerged. When helicopters flew overhead, Elena's eyes tracked them with the automatic attention of someone trained in target acquisition. When officers discussed mission planning, she listened with the focused intensity of someone who understood tactical operations. A mechanic noticed her examining ammunition one day. She was checking the powder charges and bullet weights. That's sniper-level knowledge. Maintenance staff don't need to know that. But the most telling clue came during a base security drill. When alarms sounded, Elena's reaction was immediate and professional. While others looked around confused, she was already moving toward defensive positions, reading the tactical situation like someone with combat experience. Her movements were wrong for a civilian contractor, a sergeant observed. She moved like special operations. Still, nobody put the pieces together. The quiet woman who cleaned their weapons remained invisible, dismissed as unimportant. Elena never corrected their assumptions. She just continued her work, maintaining perfect weapons for soldiers who didn't know they were being served by someone who'd once been their equal, or their superior. One night, a security guard found Elena in the armory after hours, holding that silver badge and staring at a map of mountain regions. She wasn't crying, but there was something profoundly sad in her posture. "Ma'am, you okay?" he asked. "Just remembering," she replied quietly. The guard looked at the map, noting the marked elevation points and range calculations. Military operation? Elena carefully folded the map. Something like that. Later, the guard would tell others. She wasn't just looking at that map. She was reliving something. Something important. The badge wasn't a souvenir. It was a reminder. And tomorrow, everyone would discover exactly what it reminded her of. A private would later recount, "When I watched that security footage, chills ran down my spine. The woman everyone dismissed had just moved like a real special operator." The truth was hidden in plain sight. Elena Markov wasn't cleaning weapons because it was her job. She was cleaning them because she understood their importance better than anyone else in that armory. The next morning, the commanding general visited the weapons storage facility. He walked past casually, barely noticing the woman cleaning rifles, but his eyes caught the silver badge lying on the table. He stopped dead in his tracks, voice trembling. "That's impossible." This badge was only given to one person, Phantom Raven, the longest confirmed sniper kill in mountain warfare history. The air in the armory went completely still. Everyone turned to look at Elena. She remained silent, setting down her cleaning cloth. The general stared directly at her. "Your name? You're Elena Markov?" The female marksman from the classified files. Stunned looks all around. The soldiers remembered their mocking comments and felt their faces flush with embarrassment. Elena didn't boast or make excuses. She simply nodded. "The past is finished, sir. I only want peace and quiet." The general stood silent for a long moment, then came to attention and saluted. "If it wasn't for you at Karak Ridge that year, the entire company wouldn't have survived. And I wouldn't be standing here today." The truth exploded into the open. Elena was the sniper who'd made the impossible 3,200-meter shot that saved an entire unit. The armory fell completely silent. Yesterday's mocking laughter transformed into respectful awe, mixed with shame. But there was more to the story. The mountain operation in Afghanistan, the general continued. Intelligence said it was impossible. Enemy positions were too well fortified, too far away. Our forces were pinned down with no escape route. Elena's hands trembled slightly as memories flooded back. Command called for immediate air support, but weather conditions made helicopter extraction impossible. We had one option: eliminate the enemy sniper team that was picking off our soldiers one by one. The general's voice carried the weight of that terrible day. The target was positioned 3,200 meters away. Uphill, crosswind at 40 knots, temperature differential affecting bullet trajectory. No military sniper had ever made a confirmed kill at that range under those conditions. Elena closed her eyes, remembering every detail. The feel of the rifle, the calculations, the moment when everything went silent before the shot. 3 attempts from our best marksmen. All misses. Men were dying every minute. Then this woman, he gestured toward Elena, asked for one chance. The soldiers in the armory were transfixed. She spent 20 minutes calculating wind speed, temperature, elevation adjustments. She accounted for variables that most snipers never even consider. Then she took one shot. Elena's voice was barely audible. 3 enemies eliminated. 1 bullet. The enemy sniper team was eliminated with a single round. But that's not the extraordinary part, the general continued. The extraordinary part is that she disappeared immediately after. No interviews, no medals ceremony. She requested transfer to non-combat duties and vanished from special operations. Why? A young soldier asked. Elena looked up for the first time. Because taking a life, even to save lives, changes you. I wanted to spend the rest of my service helping weapons save people, not kill them. The revelation transformed everything. The woman they'd dismissed as a maintenance worker was actually one of the most skilled snipers in military history. But she'd chosen to walk away from glory, choosing instead to serve quietly in the background. "Ma'am," the general said formally, "your service record shows 3 confirmed saves of entire units, 47 individual lives directly preserved by your actions. You have medals waiting for you that were never presented." Elena shook her head. "The only recognition I need is knowing that the weapons I maintain will help soldiers come home safely." The entire armory understood now. Elena wasn't cleaning rifles because it was her assignment. She was ensuring that every weapon was perfect because she knew exactly what happened when they failed. She'd traded her role as a warrior for a role as a guardian. Different job, same mission. Keeping soldiers alive. The general placed the silver badge back on the table with reverent care. "This belongs to you, Phantom Raven." Elena looked at it one last time, then quietly returned to cleaning the Barrett .50. Some legends, she'd decided, were better left in the past. After that day, Elena maintained her old routine, quietly cleaning weapons in the armory. But the mockery was gone. When she walked across the yard, young soldiers would stop talking and watch her with respectful eyes. A group of recruits quietly posted her photo in the training room with a note, 3,200 meters. Learn from her patience. Elena didn't accept any new medals or tell war stories. She just continued her work with the same quiet dedication. One late afternoon, she left a small note in the armory. "Don't remember my name. Remember to keep your hands steady, so the final shot always saves the person beside you." Her story spread throughout the base, not as a distant legend, but as a quiet example for the next generation. Young snipers would come to the armory, not asking for training or advice, but simply watching how she worked. They learned that precision wasn't just about marksmanship. It was about caring for every detail because lives depended on it. Elena never acknowledged their attention. She just worked, ensuring that every rifle was perfect, every scope was calibrated, every weapon was ready to bring someone home. The commanding officer issued new base regulations. Before judging any soldier's capabilities, remember that heroes often choose to serve in unexpected ways. One evening, a young marksman approached Elena as she finished cleaning a rifle. "Ma'am, I heard about Carrick Ridge. I wanted to thank you for what you did." Elena looked up from her work. "Thank me by making sure you never have to do what I did." "What do you mean?" "I mean, train hard enough that your first shot saves lives instead of taking them. Be so good that enemies surrender instead of fight. That's the real victory." The soldier nodded, understanding. Elena had found her new mission. Not creating legends, but preventing the need for them. Not taking impossible shots, but making sure others were prepared to take necessary ones. The armory became a place of pilgrimage for young soldiers. They came not for stories of glory, but for lessons in service. Elena taught them without words that true strength sometimes meant choosing peace over recognition. Her legacy wasn't the 3,200-meter shot. Her legacy was every weapon that fired perfectly because she'd maintained it. Every soldier who came home because their rifle didn't jam. Every life saved by equipment that worked when it mattered most. Type, "I will live kindly," if you believe that silent, humble people deserve to be remembered forever. Elena Markov's story isn't just about the longest sniper shot in military history. It's a reminder that many true heroes choose silence. They don't demand medals or fame. Society often rushes to judgment. See someone cleaning weapons? Assume they're just technical support. But behind the surface might be sacrifice, service, and memories nobody knows about. We shouldn't judge others by appearances, and we shouldn't dismiss quiet service. Because some hands that seem ordinary have saved entire companies. Around us are hidden heroes who've chosen new paths. The teacher who used to be a soldier. The mechanic who was once a pilot. The clerk who commanded special operations. They serve quietly now, not because they lack capability, but because they've found different ways to protect and serve others. Their greatest victories aren't the ones that made headlines. Their greatest victories are the daily acts of service that keep our communities running, our equipment functioning, and our people safe. Remember, heroism isn't always loud. Sometimes it's as quiet as perfectly maintained equipment that saves lives. If you believe in stories that touch the heart like this one, leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe to SN Quiet Stories. We tell the stories that shouldn't be forgotten. Real people are creating and telling stories, not mass-produced AI.